All right. What do you think of Candace Owens?
She's pretty smart.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you watched a lot of her stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen what all happened just this last few weeks. She's off the Daily Wire.
Daily Wire, or she got fired apparently.
I think
Daily
so.
Wire.
Yeah. I don't know what all that's about. I've got some ideas, but
yeah,
some theories.
Something about Christ is King, possibly.
Possibly.
Well, I have a clip to show you. This
right.
is actually her and Andrew Tate. We did a video on Andrew Tate, also with Candace Owens. But
so when was this filmed?
It's actually the same time as the other clip.
So is this like a year-old clip, couple months, or just a new clip?
I think it's a couple months.
Okay,
I believe. But it's pretty good, and I like what they talk about. So let's
see what they got.
And go.
God designed a man to be with a woman because it prevents men from giving entirely into the worst components of who men are. Just having sex all the time.
Yeah,
right? You can't do that. If you're with a woman, okay, maybe it's menstruation, maybe it's pregnancy, maybe it's afterbirth, but there are these natural barriers that make it so that your relationship has to be about something else other than just sex.
How do you relate with that? Women as gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Women preventing the flow of testosterone sometimes.
Yeah, I think maybe both sexes keep each other in check.
How so?
I mean, if there was no men and women would tear each other to bits through gossip and all the things that women do. But also, if no women would hear, men would just beat each other until there was only the 5 strongest men left.
That's so good. And I thought about this too, like God creating man and woman. Because if you're a dude and you're with another dude and you guys are so sexually charged, like what's stopping them from just not focusing on all that stuff? Yeah. I know with Laura, I feel ready to go, and she needs more time. She needs some alone time. She needs me to talk with her and be with her.
Oh yeah.
And it helps me, it gets me balanced out so much.
Yeah, totally. And it's like a joke in my marriage. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, I'm like, do I need to warm you up, honey? Are you ready? You gotta take out. Like, I might need warmed up. Like, all right. Let's slowly start the engine.
And I like what Andrew Tate. I keep thinking about that, like women as gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Because it's true. It's like people say, well, men have so much power, but it's like women have so much power.
Oh yeah.
They can say no. They can prevent it.
Yeah. And
then we have to use something else to get to their heart.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It challenges us.
Yeah. I don't know.
When I'm with my homosexual friends, they talk about sex. I don't think they realize that heterosexual couples don't just sit down for lunch and be like, we banged 20 times last night because we could. They think that that's normal.
Sure.
So then you talk about how that bleeds into pornography. That bleeds into wanting to talk about sexuality in the classroom, how that might bleed in to suddenly wanting to speak to children about sex, saying, oh, this is all normal. It's actually not normal, but because it's normal in a homosexual relationship, you think that it's actually normal.
Totally right.
And so I have suddenly realized, and this is why I become so staunchly conservative, how it all bleeds into everything. And there is such a thing as objective rightness, and there is such a thing as objective wrongness.
Completely correct. And I agree with absolutely everything you just said. So my question would be then, what do we do? Do we force everybody to be Christians or force everybody to be religious, or how do we do it?
Should we force everyone to be Christian? Be celibate, be nuns, be priests?
I don't think we force anybody to do anything, but a good society has to have ground rules, maybe, things that are normal, things that are not normal, things that are considered, okay and good, and things that are not considered, okay and good. And as a culture, we've definitely, sexual revolution has completely taken over all that stuff, now it's,
whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, just 30 years.
You want to.
I saw a picture a little while ago of, I don't remember the woman's name, but it was the first woman to wear a backless dress. So that was
so that
was like 100 years ago or something. So she was fully covered on the front, but there was like a U shape. So you could see her shoulder blades all the way down to maybe halfway down her back. So it showed the back of her back, and they were getting interviews. Women were like, I would never wear that in public. Even men were like, it's disgusting.
Wow.
But
this
I mean,
was
now
30 years ago, or this is
I don't know. I mean, it was I don't know the year. It was
it was in America.
Yeah, it was. I don't know when it was. A long time ago.
Right.
But it's just, from that point to where we are now, I mean, I see stuff at Walmart. I've got to be like, okay, don't look over there. Good Lord. Why are we wearing that in Walmart? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I saw one lady. I mean, she looked like she was just in a bathing suit, and we're just in the grocery store.
Yeah. And we're like, what are we doing?
Right. And then it's even in church, too. I see some people wear certain things, and it's tough when you have to feel like you have to resist temptation. because somebody's wearing a certain thing. And then, so with girls, even girls watching now, it's like, well, I can just dress what I want. Guys should have more control. They shouldn't lust after me.
Cute.
But it's like, if you're exposing yourself and men have to now fight against temptation and you're a sister in Christ, that's not cool.
Well, it's kind of backfiring because the sexual revolution, you know, women want to wear whatever they want and it's cute and all that stuff. That's great. But then they don't like the catcalling and all of the attention that comes with it. And so then they shame men for doing all of that.
Yeah.
And then so now men are super shy and super scared. And I'm hearing that women are having a hard time getting dates because they go out looking cute, not bad, but just, you know, like we would say average, you know, look nice. But then men are intimidated and they don't want to go. They're not.
Why? Because they look more safe, or
just because their men have just been slammed so hard with, you know, stop pursuing, stop doing all these things, stop, you know, catcalling, stop whistling, stop saying I'm hot, all these different things.
Yeah.
It's like, but isn't that what you want? It's kind of like
what you want.
It's kind of like when you go somewhere and you see a big pile of face tattoos. Do you not want me to stare?
Is that not why you did it? So you get
why did you get the face tattoos?
Yeah.
If I was a girl and I was showing my whole belly,
right. It's like,
it would be for you to look at my belly.
Right. It's like, what are you fishing for? Like, what is the response? Maybe that would help girls. What's the response that you want? When you wear something, what are you actually doing? Like thinking it through. And I think women want it to look beautiful. I know, I'm curious how, like, I'm sure Lacey's very similar with, like, Laura. Laura's like, well, I just want to look nice. Like, I want to look beautiful. I want to look this. And then she'll say, I want to look for you. I'm like, you look great. Like, when we're together, obviously, like, in our private bedroom, she's going to look different than out and about. So I'm not looking out and about as I would in the bedroom because there's a lot less.
Totally.
You know?
Oh, yeah, and that's a conversation I've had with my wife. Like, I want her to dress sexy for me, right? But I don't want her sexiness to be showed off to everybody at Walmart.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you just said, there's a different place. But it's, like when we're home. But even this is interesting because, like, I want her to dress sexy, but we have 4 kids. And so, like, she can't be walking around the house in
so that's
a thong.
another good point. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there's only one woman I'm allowed to look at in a thong. So when's my time?
Right. So that's the challenge now, because that's what we're thinking with our children. Our children are young. They're all girls. But yeah, so how do you do that with older children that are in the house?
Yeah. And what if you're going somewhere private? Like, what if you and your family are going to a private pool, private beach, just you and the family? Like, is it okay for your wife to wear something that she would never wear at a public beach? Because it's just you and her kids, but at the same time, she needs to be an example to her kids.
Right.
But at the same time, she is a good example to her kids because she's dressing sexy for her husband. So if your girls grow up knowing, okay, like, mom doesn't show her body off on the public beach, but when it's just us, she'll show her body off for dad, which means that when your girls get big, they'll want to show their body off to their husbands, which is good. But I don't know. These are hard things to navigate.
Let's talk about the one thing you're saying, like, okay, because Andrew Tate, we talked about in the other video, right? He became Islam because he feels like there's more strength in Islam, there's more power. I mean, we see it. Like, they're forcing people to become Islam. I haven't heard anyone on the news where this Christian was trying to force somebody else to become a Christian through power and through force and whatnot. Maybe through some sort of verbal manipulation. But so with him saying, should we force people? We know that in the Bible, it's about man and woman. It's about waiting for marriage. It's about not sleeping around, which is great. I mean, that's going to help society. That's going to help family to be able to have those reservations, you know.
I mean, the Bible is written as an instruction manual on how to live life well here and how to connect with God eternally.
That's good.
That's my thought. So, like, if you're...
It all ties in together.
Yeah, it's for here and it's for later. And so we've ignored all of these things in the Bible for now, and then we're suffering because of it.
Right.
So we don't have to force anybody, but anybody that wants to live that lifestyle just needs to go back to living a simple Bible lifestyle.
And I think...
Which is pretty much what we had 100 years ago in this country.
Yeah, that's happening with culture. I think if anything, it's bringing people to the light of, wow, we need truth. And the Bible's been saying it for years. This is the truth. Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life.
And we started on that as a culture, but we just kind of went down, down, down. And I think I hope we found bottom. If not, I don't know how much farther we can go. But once we find bottom, we'll realize that the bottom's nasty. It's not good. It's drag queens.
Unpredictable.
Nobody likes drag queens except other drag queens. Nobody. And then we can start climbing back up the ladder of, okay, let's what's modesty mean? What does respect for others mean?
Yeah. And the one concern I have, Kirk and I talked about it. It's like now it seems like so many people are on the side of, okay, this wokeism stuff is wild and crazy. But the problem that's happening now is now the bar has been shifted to all these pronouns and transgender stuff, all this crazy stuff going on. But now we're leaving the other bar that was about marriage between a man and a woman. So now it's like people are like that's almost becoming even more acceptable because people are like, well, this is all crazy. So I feel like the devil's like, you know what? Let's just keep pushing the bar. And we get so far past the level of sin that now everyone's looking at this crazy sin and they're forgetting like this is still very sinful over here. You know?
Yeah, he's numbing us to it.
Well, I think the first thing is having the courage to talk about it. And nobody even talks about these topics anymore because they just go, oh, they've won. So we need to let this go. And more you're seeing culturally, people are afraid of being canceled. I mean, what I just said to you is grounds for cancellation. How dare you question this? How dare you? I even believe now, after seeing the ways in which society has made children believe that they're all trans. I went to university. I went to high school. I didn't graduate with a single trans person. Now you want me to believe 1 in 4 children suffers from identity issues? No, that's socialization. Completely. You place that on them. So is it such a far stretch to imagine that the same happened in the when homosexuality came to America, and then we popularized it and we put Ellen on TV and we gave Melissa Etheridge a platform, and suddenly pride parades were happening everywhere. Whereas you don't see this here. You don't see this here in Romania where we're sitting, because we haven't. This is the power of culture. This is the power of pop culture. When you make something, you have to go the other way. Completely. You need to normalize it. You need to say, actually, this is abnormal. Absolutely. And this is what normal is. And it's not both.
You are right. We are in a culture war.
That's true. I mean, in high school, I had 900 students in my graduating class. I can't think of a single trans student. There were people that were homosexual, a few.
Right.
But none that I can think of that were like, you know what, call me by this, call me by that.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild phenomenon that we've brought on ourselves.
It's interesting, too. I actually did a philosophy class, and I did it because I really liked the professor. And the philosophy class was called The Philosophy of Sex, Race, and Gender. And so I'm a new Christian. I get in there, and this whole class is about what all this stuff is. Like transgender, this, that, and I caused a bunch of explosions in that class. I mean, it was literally everybody in that class.
I have a question, professor.
And the thing was, the professor I really liked wasn't there. Like, something happened with the school, and so it was actually a substitute.
Oh, wow.
And I actually liked her. She was a homosexual, but she didn't try to stomp me out, which was really good. The other students, though, I definitely angered with different things. But it was the first time I was like, what are you guys talking about? Because I'd never heard this whole thing, like there's multiple genders and all this stuff.
Yeah, like, can you please explain this?
and everyone was pretty much bisexual, homosexual, and then there's me.
Yeah.
And so it was wild.
Yeah, that's a weird, not a lot of straight people signed up for that class, probably.
Right. But I just did because I liked the
I'm glad
teacher.
you were there. Hopefully.
But it was neat, though, I think, because people respected that I wasn't afraid to back down. Because there's people in that class, like a few, that were not on board with all this stuff.
Right.
And they were very silent, but then at the end they would say, hey, like, thanks for what you're doing, like standing up. Like, I'm on your
it's something it's something I want to get a lot better at is loving conversations. You know, because slandering doesn't help, throwing rocks doesn't help, but when someone's very proud of a certain idea that I would think is a bad idea, like, how can I go over there and just be like, hey, why do you believe that? Like, what type of foundational truths do you stand on to hold that belief system?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can you show that to me? Like, what is that? But that's the struggle. I feel like a lot of people that are so far one direction, man, it's like they're so far. It's hard. I don't know how to reach them. I'm trying to not be rude, but like there's no. It doesn't seem like there's a logical basis for anything. You know what I mean? So like if you're buying a car and there's this and there's this, and I'm like, hey, this one is guaranteed to be garbage. This one has a lifetime warranty, but like you're just not hearing me. You're just like, no, like you're wrong. Like you're wrong. Like I don't know what I can do. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you the truth, but like if you reject it, like I don't know how to slap you with it. You know what I mean? Like there's no way to. So I don't know. I'm a little bit I don't know what to do in some of that culture stuff, because it's like, anyway.
Conferring someone's name onto them is a really important affirmation of their identity. You know, for a lot of us, our names were a gift from our parents, or we went through a journey of self-acceptance and we chose our name. You know, some people even just decide to shed their childhood nickname and go by their full name when they're older. And like, we respect that evolution when it's literally anybody else, because we live in a society where we generally don't want there to be unwanted friction and conflict among individuals when it's really easy to avoid. So, you know, if you're saying, I don't want to honor people's pronouns, you're saying that you understand that it's harmful and you're choosing to be harmful.
Right on in to the next one. It's lost.
If I was sitting here in front of you as a transgendered male to female or female to male, and we began the conversation, at the beginning of the conversation, you stumbled and called me he or she, and I was perhaps identifying the other way around. And then if I'd said to you, please, I'd rather go by she, how would you respond to that on a personal level? How would you?
Well, it would depend on the situation, but the way I have responded to that, because I've had a number of conversations with transgendered individuals, is that I use whatever pronoun seems to go along with the persona that they're projecting publicly. It's the simplest thing to do. Now, if we were,
so you would respect their choice on an individual level.
Yeah. But with a more contentious pronouns, je and je, and that sort of thing, that's a whole different issue. Because the question there is, well, exactly what is it that you're doing when you're asking me to use those words? Like, are you compelling me to play your particular ideological game, or is this actually a matter of some personal identity that's important to you? And those things are not obvious. And so in a situation like that, the first thing I'd have to do is to try to figure out just exactly what was going on in the situation, and that's not simple. And so there would be no foregone conclusion that I would address you by the pronouns of your choice. And the first thing I'd want to find out is that just a narcissistic power play? Because that's actually the most likely outcome.
Yeah, that would be the most likely outcome.
Narcissistic power play.
Yeah. I mean, so I build saunas, right? So when you talk to anybody about me building saunas, I need you to tell them that I am the greatest sauna builder. Not just, oh, Nate builds saunas. No. You need to say, Nate builds the best saunas.
In the world.
In the world. Yeah.
all time.
Or I make music. So when you say, oh, Nate makes music. No. Nate makes the best music of all time.
If you don't say that,
and if you don't say that, I'm offended
me. Yeah.
because you're not being very kind to me. I think the whole pronoun thing, to me, my whole thing with all that is, what's your name?
What's your name?
Period. I'll call you your name. I'm not doing
whatever you want the name to be called.
Whatever your if your name is Bobby, I will call you Bobby.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, hey, you know Bobby? I'm not gonna be like, you know, Zizzer, whatever it is. Like, no, you know Bobby. Like, yeah.
Now, what if
Bobby.
they changed their name, and the original name was Bobby? The parents gave them the name Bobby, but now this individual wants to go by Sally. And you know clearly, Bobby is a dude, he has a beard, he's a male, he's like, call me Sally. Like, would you call him Sally in that situation?
So, I've actually got a situation right now with a person who's in this right now. They had a born name, and they're on the internet, on all their social pages, they have a different name. I still call them by their birth name.
And how did they respond to that?
So far, no problem.
They don't say anything. Now, but it's the same gender name.
Yeah.
Right? It's still a male name or female name.
And this is interesting because, like, when my parents named me Nathaniel, biblical spelling, no I, Nathaniel. And then around 18, you know, identity crisis, I was like, no, I'm Nate. I'm not Nathaniel, I'm Nate. So I introduced myself to everybody for years as Nate. And then now, in being late 30s, like, actually it started like late 20s, really. Like, I was like, I miss Nathaniel.
Wow.
Like, and so then I would meet new people, and I'd be like, oh, my name's Nathaniel. And so then, like, some people call me Nathaniel, some people call me Nate. I've pretty much lost the war, though. Like, most people call me Nate. And that's fine.
Yeah, just not Nathan.
Yeah, definitely not Nathan. Yeah, we know that. Definitely no Nathans. But it blesses me because there's a few people in my life that know me really, really well, and they, like, and I know it's intentional because they hear everyone else call me Nate. Like, I'll be hanging out with people, oh, hey, Nate, hey, Nate, hey, Nate, hey, Nate. Brian comes up and he's like, hey, Nathaniel, I got a question for you. And I'm just like, do you say something? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So yeah, I relate to it to a degree. So maybe I don't know. I relate to that to a degree because I have changed, but I didn't go from Nate to Bobby Lee or Rachel or something else. Like it was Nate to Nathaniel. So that's not much of a stretch. I
so
guess.
what would you do in that situation? Like your brother, may the Lord forbid that. But if he was like, hey, I'm a girl now. Like,
or maybe make it personal. What would I do if you called me Nathan? We're friends. You may have once or twice. I would be like, bro, I'm not Nathan. And that's what I'd be like, bro. I'd be like, bro, I'm not Nathan. And so I get where they're coming from because if I told you my name was Nate or Nathaniel and you called me Nathan all the time, you're not my friend, bro.
And here's the
thing. What I mean? Like you have no respect for me whatsoever. Like at this point, you're using that name because you know I don't like it, so I'm not hanging out with you. So I do relate to where they're coming from. If I came at you and I was like, hey, I'm now Rachel, and you kept calling me Nathaniel, I'll be like, bro.
Yeah.
But you love me enough to be like, dude, you can change your name, but that doesn't change anything. Like that doesn't change how you feel, doesn't change how you look, doesn't change your DNA.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything really.
And this, though, brings up a good point. Like, for us, if we're going to be sharing Jesus with people and we're going out, because when Jordan Peterson said that, I'm like, wow, Jordan Peterson would just play the game and, like, call a dude a girl. And I see why, because if he didn't, he's a psychologist. If he didn't do that, it would just stop the whole interview. It would stop the whole process.
Yeah.
They would just, at that point, have walls up against them. So he knows that. He's like, there's a deeper issue here. Forget that. I'll call you she. I'll call you Sally.
They might be a
whatever.
narcissist, but what's keeping me from? Is it pride? Like, is that what? Like, what makes me so stubborn
to not call them?
To not call them. Yeah. In a way, it's because I don't want to affirm their lie. Would be a big part of it. You know, just like if I said I'm a cat, you know, I mean, or anything else. If I'm this, I'm that. Like, hey, I'm a black guy. I need you to call me a black guy. Like when you say, "Oh, you know Nate, he's my friend." Yeah, no, he's not.
Could you imagine
he's
like
not.
all this thing about race, and somebody was like, "I am a black guy." Like,
there's been several who have brought this up because the whole gender thing is like in our DNA, and so there are two sexes. Sorry, there's only two, and there's millions of shades of pigment, and that's what's funny. Like pigment is a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sex is not a spectrum. Like I know several people that are black as coal, and then they're brown, they're in between, they're light skinned. You know what I mean? Like your skin's not white, but it's not brown, it's not black.
Yeah.
Like what? That's a spectrum. But for somehow we've boiled it all the way down to like 3. You're either white, or you're Hispanic, or you're black. Well, if there's only 3 races in America, then there's definitely only 2 genders. Like, because how do you, or is there names for people that are 5% this, 10% that? Like, this is ridiculous.
Right. But then the question is, for somebody that is trying to bring Jesus to somebody, and the person says their name is Sally, but their real name is Bob, they're clearly
Doesn't matter.
man.
Yeah, if you're talking to someone who's white and they're like, bro, I'm black. Like, call me black when you talk to me. Like,
but here's the thing, if you don't do that, so if I'm going to go and share the gospel with somebody, and they say, my name is Sally, clearly, do I then go against what they desire to be able to then bring the gospel? Because if I go against what they desire, unless you wrap it all into one message, so you're trying to share with you, like, look, I know that you're, well, even what you were saying, asking the question, okay, you're saying your name is Bobby. Are you transgender? And they say yes. I'm like, well, that's when maybe you're saying, like, ask those questions, go where it's at, and then let them explain their heart and share. And then from that point, say, you know what? It sounds like you've had a tough life. Do you know Jesus? And then go from there. So that could be a good place to start, because at that point, they've already opened up. They've already shared. Now, you don't even have to say their name at that point. Then you just share Jesus. I don't know what I would do in that situation. If it gets to that point, I might just avoid saying the name altogether, just to give them the gospel, and then hopefully pray for them. But
yeah, that's a hard thing to do in love, because I mean they're clearly mistaken. But if you ask them to explain where they're mistaken, they're not going to see it. You know what I mean? And you can't tell them that they're mistaken. But then you want me to accept your mistake as reality, and I don't know if I can do that. I'm stuck.
I'm gonna play one more clip, and I think this kind of hits it on the head why they want to have a different pronoun and whatnot. I think it's number 1.
Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with the wonderful Julia Hartley-Brewer, who has had enough of the excessive demands of the LGBTQIA++ lobby and flat out refused to deliberately mangle the English language to pander to an individual who identifies as a non-binary plural. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thanks.
You know my pronouns are they, them. How are you doing?
Yeah. Thank you for telling me your pronouns. I use correct grammar, so the only thing I would need to refer you to is to your face would be you. But I'm not being rude. You can choose your pronouns. You can choose what you want to call yourself, but you don't get to require me to use incorrect grammar and factually incorrect things. You're not a plural. You're a one person, and you're a female person. So I will use she and her. Thank you very much.
Do what you like, I guess.
Well, there you are. You didn't need to tell me then, did you?
Maybe I'm just making sure people know in case they're watching and they want to refer to me respectfully.
Is it disrespectful for me to use correct factual grammar?
It's not incorrect or unfactual grammar to use singular they them pronouns for an individual. But we're here to talk about the cast review.
Yeah, but you chose to bring it up.
You chose to use the incorrect pronouns for me.
I chose to use the correct pronouns for a single woman who is appearing on my show.
I'm not a single woman, though. I'm a very special non-binary trans person, as you just pointed out. I
didn't
really
just point that out.
Crowd.
I didn't just point that out. I introduced you as a journalist and a Virgin Radio presenter.
No, just before I came on, you were talking about how people with all these labels like to be special. And I'm just making sure that everyone knows I'm special.
I'm just
So that's it right there.
making sure everyone knows that I'm special. A touch of narcissist, maybe.
But it's showing like deep down, like even the past clip, it's like they want to be loved.
Totally.
Really. They want to be loved, and they feel like they're part of this whole, I don't know, they're lost in the numbers of everything. So they want to come out and
Don't we just
express
go
it.
ahead and say what needs to be said to get us canceled? They hate themselves, and they're desperately searching for love. That's the root.
So it's love, true love.
They're desperate for
is the
it,
answer.
and it's not even attention. Like, they're not desperate for attention. I mean, that's part of it, but they don't look for attention. They're looking for love. They're looking to be accepted and loved. So desperate that they're trying to force society to accept and love them.
Yeah.
And that's just the wrong approach.
Right. And it's playing a game, it's doing this. And it's sad because I'm like, wow, probably so many of them could have a different life if their father was there, the mother was there, people were there. And that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
The world needs love. The world needs Jesus.
Yep.
Jesus is the only one that can truly give the love that we're searching for, that she is searching for, that all these people are searching for.
I'm in the same boat as I'm in the same boat. Like, I want love and acceptance too. Yeah, that's what we all want.
Amen.
That's what we're all after.
And the important part with it all, everybody, is give people the true love. Not a love that is fabricated, not a love that bends to people or is forced, like maybe what Andrew Tate might want or desire. It's the true love that comes from God. And it's the true love that leads us into right relationship with Him, where we put away all these things that we would like and we lay them down for what He would like, because what He likes is truth, eternal.
You will
eternally.
never feel loved and accepted until you accept God's love for you. Because a human being will never fulfill your need for love. You could love 1,000 humans, and all 1,000 could love you back, and you would not feel fulfilled. Only God.
Only God. God bless y'all.